All right, today I'm going to be talking about Emily Bronte, and one of our the first female author in our Victorian period study. And I want to talk a little bit about her biography, and then we'll dive into the text selection for this week. So she was born in Thornton, England on July the 30th, 1818. She was one of 5 children, all girls: Elizabeth, Maria, Charlotte, Anne, and Emily. In 1821, her mother passed away from cancer. They were sent to a clergy daughter's school at Cowansbridge, which was for children of the clergy, like the daughters of the clergymen. But it was a place that had such poor living conditions, had harsh discipline, and her 2 oldest sisters, Elizabeth and Maria, both contracted tuberculosis there and died as a result of that disease. And that disease actually would kind of haunt her family for many years to come. She spent most of her time in her home at Haworth, where she wrote a significant amount of writing. She would go on to publish Wuthering Heights. She originally published it under a pen name. She and her 2 sisters, Charlotte and Anne, they all had pen names. They were publishing under male pen names. Wanted their work to be taken seriously. It was still not a time of equality for women, especially women writers. There was a good old boys club that was very successful, but they were all males. So she had a pen name. Her pen name was Ellis Bell, and so she first published Wuthering Heights under Ellis Bell. Her sisters Charlotte and Anne, they all published a set of poetry together. It was poems by Kerr, which was Charlotte, Ellis, which is Emily, and Acton, which was Anne. They published a book of poetry. Her 2 sisters would publish, Charlotte would publish Jane Eyre, and Anne published The Tenant of Wildfeld Hall. Wuthering Heights did not receive any kind of critical praise when it was first published. However, now it is generally considered one of the greatest novels of British literature of all time. Emily died in 1848 of tuberculosis, and her sister Anne passed away 1 year later from the exact disease, and then Charlotte died 6 years later after that of pneumonia. So today we're going to be taking a look at No Coward Soul Is Mine. It is a 7-stanza poem that's made up of 4-line stanzas or quatrains. We've been kind of tracking the quatrain progress over the British literature canon as we go along. So 4 lines of 4-line stanzas, 7 of those. There is a strict pattern of rhyme that carries throughout the entire poem. The first and the third line rhyme, and the second and the fourth line rhyme. And you'll notice that the second and fourth lines are significantly longer than the first and the third. And this poem is all about the speaker's overwhelming passion for God and the strength that she's able to draw from her faith. We always talk about not confusing author and speaker, because oftentimes the speaker is a construct of the author's imagination, but we really feel like, based on some of her other works, that this speaker is very much Emily Bronte herself. So let's start, let's read, and then we'll break it down piece by piece. No coward soul is mine, no trembler in the world's storm-troubled sphere. I see heaven's glory shine, and faith shines equal, arming me from fear. O God, within my breast, almighty, ever-present deity, life that in me hast rest, as I, undying life, have power in thee. Vain are the 1,000 creeds that move men's heart, unutterably vain, worthless as withered weeds, or idlest froth amid the boundless main. To waken doubt in one, holding so fast by thy infinity, so surely anchored on the steadfast rock of immortality. So in the very beginning, in that first, I got 3 more stanzas to read. With wide embracing love, thy spirit animates eternal years, pervades pervades and broods above, changes, sustains, dissolves, creates, and rears. Though earth and moon were gone, and suns and universes ceased to be, and thou wert left alone, every existence would exist in thee. There is not room for death, nor atom that his might could render void, since thou art being and breath, and what thou art may never be destroyed. So in that first stanza, the first 4 lines, that first quatrain, the speaker begins by making it very clear to the audience that her heart is, or her soul is untroubled. It's not cowardly. It does not tremble at the troubles of the world. There is nothing in the world, no matter how awful, that can shake the foundations of her soul. She has her faith in God, and she sees heaven's glory shine, and is protected from everything. And that power that she gets from that is part of her, and it arms her from her fear. It is the only weapon or defense that she needs to make her way through life. Here in stanza 2, she begins a direct address to God. She's praising him, "O God, within my breast, almighty ever-present deity." She explains to the reader that he is ever-present, the force of him within her that gives her the confidence that she needs to face the world. He's provided her with life, and that life within her is representation of God's undying life. He lives, he's eternal. In stanza 3, she's talking about while her heart might be pure and full of God, other people's hearts are not so well protected. She's talking about all the endless things that move men's hearts. She says, "Vain are the 1,000 creeds that move men's hearts." She's speaking of all the human wants that drive men and women, money, love, things that are not of God. And she condemns these types of people. She feels contempt for them, for how they live their lives and their lack of faith. She refers to those that are not as strong as she is as being vain, because they give in to the temptations of the world, but she's never going to do that. The next 2 lines don't make a lot of sense unless you roll them into the next stanza. Worthless as withered weeds, or idlest froth amid the boundless main, to awaken doubt in one. So she's saying that she's so steadfast in her morality and in her faith that any doubt that is present is worthless as withered weeds in the boundless and endlessly powerful ocean. If they are present, they cannot tempt her, they cannot influence her, just as the idlest froth in the ocean has no impact on the currents. Rolling into that 4th stanza, she's referring to herself. She says to awaken doubt in one. It's her faith that is impenetrable and without room for doubt, and she's the way she is because she's holding fast and is surely anchored on the rock that is God, that is immortality. And so there's nothing that she's going to do to jeopardize that relationship. In stanza 5, the Spirit of God is present in everything in the world. It's all powerful. She says it's like a wide embracing love that pervades through all the years of life. It could change form, it could create or rear, but it's always there. It's always constant. In the second to the last quatrain, she proposes a future in which every part of our known world has vanished. No earth, no moon, no suns, no universes. But all those bodies, even if they cease to be, God will not cease to be, and his existence would hold all that was lost. In the last stanza, she says she's not afraid of death. There's no room for death in her world. Death has no power over her. And there is no atom of his might, of death's might, that would touch or could touch God's power. God consumes everything and everyone, from every being and to every breath. And he can never be destroyed, even with something as powerful as death. So an interesting there on No Coward Soul Is Mine. Definitely overwhelming passion for God and the strength that she gets from God to live her life.